Now we're going to talk about something that's always been a fascination for artists, the body, the human body, and in this case, in particular, in relation to medical technologies. So we go back to the times of human dissection that truly is at the intersection of art and science. In my own experience as an artist, I was trained in a classical school at the Academy of Fine Arts in Belgrade. We had a strong focus on anatomical drawing. We were drawing from skeletons, bone by bone. It was very tedious, and at certain points I thought I was really wasting my time. How does this have anything to do with contemporary art? Well, I find myself a decade later downloading 3D scans of human bodies that were meant for medical illustrations and animations. And having that knowledge of the bone structures and understanding the human anatomy proved to be critical for the work that I was doing that ended up being on the internet and dealing with the bodies incorporated in this case. So we look at how human dissection started and how important it was for artists to, in the times of Renaissance, to look at the human body, to dissect it in order to be able to represent it correctly, but also working hand in hand with researchers and doctors who were looking at the human body, illustrating it for them. So they played a critical role also in documenting the progress in understanding the body. And then we shift into looking how, as the technology progressed from X-rays to CAT scans to MRIs, how our perception of our bodies has shifted, not to mention how we enter into the genetics and the digital body, the data body, the corporate body, all these different ways of viewing the human body. So let's take a look at how medical technologies and art intersect in the past and in the contemporary arts. Anatomy and dissection is truly at the intersection of art and science. The dissection of cadavers, at times forbidden by the church and state, has been a fascination to artists as much as those who are trying to figure out the collection of bones, flesh, fluids, and how human bodies work. We have been cutting open bodies and dissecting corpses since almost the beginning of recorded human history, with ancient Egyptians going to great lengths to mummify their dead, cutting open their bodies, dissecting their organs, preserving their remains. The ancient Greeks going through human dissection in a more scientific vein, and then going into the scientific method that comes in with the time of Renaissance, when we see art and science really coming together. With that, we look at Vesalius, Andreas Vesalius, who was a Flemish anatomist, a physician, and author of one of the most influential books in the medical history on the human anatomy, De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the structure of the human body. Vesalius is often referred to as the founder of modern human anatomy. And that's why his work is interesting to us, because we can see how he was the first one who provided an accurate description of the internal structures of the workings of the human bodies. And he also revived the scientific method for studying the human anatomy. De Humani Corporis Fabrica, published in 1543, was a turning point in the history of modern medicine, because for the first time, the treatment of the disease was understood to be rooted in the accurate representation of the human body, inside and out. Now we jump a few hundred years to 1858, when Henry Gray publishes his classic book, Anatomy, where we look at the growth and change of anatomical illustration, and we look at also how beauty and human appeal shift. But Gray's Anatomy is in its 40th edition. This book that was illustrated by Henry Van Dyke Carter was used and intended for the medical community, but almost every artist working with the body has the Gray's Anatomy on their library shelf. Fascination with anatomy continues. If we look at Body Worlds, it's one of the most popular exhibitions to date. In fact, many of you are probably familiar and have visited this kind of show. It is using plastination, which is a technique or a process used in anatomy to preserve bodies or body parts by taking water and fat and replacing it with certain plastics. And this was developed in 1979 by Gunther von Hagens, who is a German scientist and discovered a way to preserve biological tissues with polymers. This was patented, and he went on to form the Institute for Plastination in Heidelberg and started showing plastinated bodies first time in Japan in 1995, which drew more than 3 million visitors. This continues to be a hugely popular show and travels all around the world. You can see it, if you pay attention, it comes around to many cities. When he discovered that, he was really looking at ways that he would continue working with this, and a lot of times it was dismissed as a failure, but he continued carrying out the process with using silicone baths, preserving different parts of the body parts, and making plastination the focus of his life. Another important step towards looking into the human body is the Visible Human Project that created detailed data sets of cross-sectional photographs of the human body in order to facilitate anatomy visualization applications. A male and a female cadaver were cut into very thin slices, which were then photographed and digitized into a huge library. This began in 1989, and the data set for the male was completed in November 1994, and the one for the female in November 1995. This event was really inspirational to many artists, including myself. The idea of looking at these data sets and photographs of the human body and reconstructing created so many artworks. If you go and search for videos with the Visible Human Project, you will see how many videos, music videos, video art projects were created using some of these data sets, but also inspired by the idea of the body being represented like this. It is interesting to note who these cadavers were that were sliced into the medical database. The male cadaver is Joseph Paul Jernigan, a 38-year-old Texan murderer who was executed by lethal injection in 1993. At the prompting of a prison chaplain, he agreed to donate his body for scientific research without knowing it was going to be in the Visible Human Project. This became a point of ethical debate, and the University of Vienna demanded that the images be withdrawn with the reference to the point that the medical profession should have no association with executions. Then the debate was about the gender of the cadaver. The question was, why was it that the male cadaver was used in the project? Consequently, a 59-year-old female donor who remains anonymous was sliced and added to this digital library. The controversy, however, only heightened, as in the press, she has been described as a Maryland housewife who died from a heart attack and whose husband requested that she be part of the project. Now we move into the Human Genome Project, which was begun formally in 1990 and was coordinated by the US Department of Energy and NIH, National Institute of the Health. This is an important project because it was meant to identify all 20,000, 25,000 genes in the human DNA. It was meant to determine the sequences of the 3 billion chemical base pairs that make up the human DNA, to store this information in databases, to improve tools for data analysis, to also work with the private sector. And the importance of this particular project is also because it became a race between the government and the private sector in decoding the human genome. The Human Genome Project is very important to mention in relation to our perception of the human body and the influence it has on medical technologies. But I will not go further into details about it because we will cover it at length during our section in genetics and art. I will mention, however, another project that recently was started, the Human Microbiome Project, which is very interesting and also was quite influential on artists working with biotech. Again, a mention that we will cover in more depth. The Microbiome Project also is worth mentioning in relation to our perception of the human body and its effect on the medical community, because of the way the microbial cells are estimated to outnumber human cells by a factor of 10 to 1. They're literally communities that are part of our larger ecosystem, and looking at the body in a way that's about these cells and microbiota and in relation to human health and disease really is going to have a strong influence on how microbiology works. Up to this point, microbiology was focused on the study of individual species in isolated units. Now we're looking at the whole network in the human body that includes all of the sequences of the DNA, the cellular structures, and the bacteria and other organisms that are part of our body.